Hi, and welcome. We're so happy to have you with us on this Friday. I am Sadia Davis, the director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship, and we have missed you on our CCE Global Industry Talks. The Center for Creative Entrepreneurship is a nonprofit pilot out of 2112 Chicago, which is the largest creative incubator and largest creative co-working space in the world. And I'd love to say that, but it's true. And we are so thankful to be funded by the Coleman Foundation. So we want to give a thanks to the generous sponsorship from the Coleman Foundation and Arts Alliance Illinois as our fiscal sponsor. This summer, a lot of internships were interrupted with COVID-19, but we are fortunate to have a partner in Free Spirit Media who have provided two incredible fellows. Those are Gabrielle Paredes and Wayne P. Tate Jr. Gabrielle's vision and the intro for today's show was created by Gabrielle, and Wayne Tate created the flyers that you all saw in promotion of today's talk. Also, I want to mention DePaul University recent grad Vera Parashek, who is operating today. We are so proud to not only have conversations with emerging entrepreneurs, established business leaders, but also to create that pipeline of workforce development into the creative arts. So, speaking of the creative arts, I'm really thrilled to be able to bring to you leadership in the creative industries, specifically of music. The world has shifted, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic. And at the same time, COVID-19 has exposed a lot of disparities, whether in healthcare or racial inequality, job inequality, women and how they are maybe not being paid the same or equal pay. So these are some of the things that we're going to discuss with Bob of Oxfam. But let me tell you a little bit about Bob Fergeson. Bob Fergeson is he's the manager of creative alliances and music outreach at Oxfam America, where he works with many of the world's biggest artists, you'll see that today, to raise the profile of Oxfam's hunger, poverty, and justice work. Bob is also the advisory board of the Lena Horne Prize for Artists Creating Social Impact and the board of directors for Calling All Crows, who partner with musicians and community organizations to mobilize for social change to improve the lives of women and girls. Bob lives just outside of New York, and he's with us today. Now, he has a wife named Kimberly. We don't want to leave her out. These spouses and partners of ours are keeping us going during this uncertain time. So we're really excited to have Bob with us, but we're going to continue on and let you know who else is with us today. So Mark Johnson is co-founder for Playing for Change, and Mark is a Grammy Award winning producer. He's an engineer and an award winning film director. So he hits two of our buttons with the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. But for the past 20 years, Mark has worked with some of the most renowned producers in the music industry, film and television, as well as with some musical artists, some such as Paul Simon, Jackson Browne, Keith Richards, Sarah Bareilles, Bono, Robbie Robinson, and Ringo Starr. In hopes of showcasing musical talent found on the streets, Johnson parlayed his musical knowledge and technical skills to turn his vision into what is now known as Playing for Change. Mark has recorded and filmed music around the world in over 60 countries, and he has dedicated his life to connecting the world through music. Mark also sits on the board of directors for Playing for Change Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. It was created in 2007. So they've been doing some really good work bringing music education to children and communities. The team has been traveled all over the world. They've sat with the United Nations, TED Global, the World Economic Forum, and Davos, and featured guests on the Colbert Report, Tavis Smiley, and Bill Moyer's Journal, and CNN Heroes. So we are really thankful to have Mark and Bob with us. And after we speak with them, we're going to introduce you to a working, creative, independent musician, Tarrey Torae. So we'll tell you a little bit more about her when we bring her up. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to Bob. You know what? Because music does change the world.
Hey,
hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Listen, I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. We started this like, what, a month ago?
That's about right, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that was really, you know, at the time we were looking at how the world was really kind of changing with regards to some of these inequalities that I spoke of. Can you talk to me a little bit about you and what Oxfam's priorities are right now?
Sure. So if you're unfamiliar with Oxfam, we're a global organization working to end the injustice of poverty. We help people build better futures for themselves. We hold the powerful accountable, and we work when disasters hit by helping to save lives. And our mission is to tackle the root causes of poverty and create lasting solutions. We have about 20 affiliates around the world, and we're working in around 90 countries at any given time. And my work with Oxfam is to work with the music industry and the creative industries to raise the profile of Oxfam's work and to find new support, get advice from creative people who maybe think a little bit differently than those of us in the humanitarian world. So my job really sort of walks the line between humanitarian and creative, which is a really cool, interesting place to be.
Well, that's you do a lot. You do a lot of good work. And a lot of the talent that you work with do good work. You know, one of the things that I remembered us talking about is, you know, equal pay for equal work, right? And starting to sort of look at how, whether it's music recording studios or the business or even concert production, how do we become more inclusive and how do we encourage these organizations to demonstrate inclusivity, right? Like, let's not just talk about it, but like, how is it demonstrated? Do you have any ideas of organizations that you'd love to share that you've seen them doing the work?
Well, you know, Oxfam's part of Oxfam's mission is it's written into our ethos DNA is equality, and the notion of somebody being paid less for the same kind of work than someone else. That's not equality. And unfortunately, you know, there's a big gender difference in terms of how people are paid in almost all industries. And the music industry has been notoriously slow to get that gender equality where it should be, whether it's in terms of how people in the industry are paid, how female artists are paid versus male artists, how you know, the gender difference in terms of female artists on festival bills versus male artists. There's always been a big swing in terms of women really not being paid what they're worth and getting what they're due in the music industry. So through my job, because we work with so many record labels and radio stations, and especially in the touring world, the live music world, festivals and live shows, you know, we do our best to speak up about these discrepancies and you know, when we work at a music festival, we work at 7 or 8 of the biggest music festivals in the United States, and globally we're partners at Glastonbury and Primavera in Spain, some of the world's premier festivals. But no matter where we're at, we make sure to make a point with the organizers of, you know, hey, we really wish you would do better in terms of the balance between male performers and female performers and non-binary performers. And we have found that just by speaking up and you know, sort of being informal advisors to these people in the music industry, they'll listen to somebody like us, because we don't really have a business interest in the music industry. We're just trying to help everybody do better. And it's remarkable how much change can be made by just asking for it. So that's one of the things that, or one of the ways that Oxfam has influenced these inequities in the music industry.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate you sharing that, because I know that's what you guys do. But it's one of those things that, you know, it's almost like right now organizations are looking at what other organizations are stepping in to do something differently. And so thank you for the work that you do, because that does inspire and encourage other organizations to think differently. And right now the big word is demonstrate, right? Like everybody can talk about it. Folks are cutting big checks to demonstrate, but we also are, you know, we are hopeful that this is the beginning of a new era, and not just simply talking about it, but actually doing something about it. And speaking of that, I do want to bring up Mark to engage him in this conversation as well. I've got to say, I love your background. You know, I mean, it's true to what we're talking about with the guitar. And I believe that's, is that an Emmy or an Academy Award? I'm sorry, it's an Emmy.
It's definitely, it's not an Academy Award. It's an Emmy. Oxfam received an Emmy for creating a video with the New Pornographers a few years ago about the BP oil spill in the Gulf. And we worked with them to create a video that was a alternate version of a song that they had already created called Sweet Talk, which is how Oxfam felt the government was treating the locals in the Gulf area when it came to trying to find the benefits that they were supposed to get from BP, from the government, because of that awful spill, that we felt the government was giving them sweet talk. So we created a video with them, and somehow it got nominated for an Emmy and eventually won. So, but that's a really great example of how industries like mine, the humanitarian world, can partner with creative types to get the word out in ways that aren't just a press release. I mean, when you can tell a story, and at the end of the day, we're all storytellers. If you can tell that good story in a way that's a little bit different, possibly a little bit fun, but certainly meaningful and creatively, I really think that's the sweet spot of impact. And I'm sure that Mark feels the same way. That's part and parcel of what he does as well.
Well, you know, before we bring up Mark, I really want to just show some of the people that you've worked with, because, you know, for our viewers, they're learning about you maybe for the first time, but the work that you do is really powerful. And so I want to make sure people understand the levels at which you are impacting change. So tell us a little bit about your time there's a shot of you and Alicia Keys.
Yeah, so Alicia formed a really cool movement called the We Are Here movement, and invited, I think it was 10 different organizations who sort of filled the 10 different buckets of interest that Alicia has in terms of activism. You know, there was somebody, I think it was the Trevor Project, represented LGBTQ youth, and other organizations that had to do with the environment and other points of activism that Alicia's passionate about. And we helped her understand and reach out to her fans about challenges with refugees and immigration. So that photo was the launch of the We Are Here Foundation. And I don't know if you could see, but she was about 8.5 months pregnant. Oh, and Alicia is one of the folks that we're super proud to work with, because she just speaks her mind, and she's brilliant. She's very strategic with her activism, and of course super helpful to any of the organizations who are lucky enough for her to support.
I wish I would have known. I would have asked for Alicia Keys to join you. I know, it's okay. I was asking for Annie Lennox. You know this, because I think it was right around when Floyd was murdered, and I loved Annie Lennox's music, and I started following her again after her beautiful piano playing on Jimmy Fallon. And so I was in her trail, and I saw that she was making some comments, and I was like, whoa, you know, this is really powerful coming from her. And then listening to her lyrics and hearing how they measure up even 14 years ago to currently right now. Same thing with Alicia Keys, her work and her words, to your point. It's so beautiful when you have these musicians who use their lyrics that then spark really exciting change. We've got another photo with you and Lizzo. I almost jumped out of my chair earlier.
Yeah, that's not me. That's my my cool colleague Clara. But every year at the Bonnaroo Music Festival in Tennessee, we create these beautiful farm-to-table dinners with our partners, Eat for Equity, who are based in Minneapolis. And collaboratively, we create these beautiful dinners that are served as the sun comes down under this beautiful trellis as music is playing. And all of the food is locally sourced from within 100 miles of the Bonnaroo Festival site. And I think we saw Lizzo chopping up some herbs that were grown by a refugee cooperative just outside of Nashville. But yeah, Lizzo stopped by and helped us cut and helped us cook a little bit. And then we sat down for a little private meal afterwards just to talk about, you know, how we're all going to save the world. And Lizzo, this was about 3 years ago, and she very plainly laid out for me sort of her plan to dominate the world. And she hit every point. Like everything that she said that she was going to make happen has happened. As you can see, she's everywhere.
Yeah.
And but that's you know, Alicia, Annie Lennox, Lizzo, you know, we love to work with women because you know, we're a feminist driven organization. You know, we're deeply rooted in feminist ethos. But it's my belief that if you want to get something done, you ask a woman to do it, or to at least run the show. And you know, those are three examples of women who know exactly what they want out of life in the world, know how to talk about it, and know how to motivate people. So yeah, great examples of the kind of folks that we're lucky enough to work with.
Well, I tell you, speaking of working with people around the world, I look forward to continuing this conversation with Mark Johnson from Playing for Change. Hey, Mark.
Hey, guys. Hi, Sadia. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Mark.
It's great to listen to you guys.
Yeah, you know, listen, you have this wonderful video that I want to show so people understand who you are and the work that you do. So let's definitely show that, and we'll come back and continue this conversation.
Okay, great.
I've been around a while, I know wrong from right. Learned a long time ago, things ain't always black and white. Just like you can't judge a book by the cover, we all got to be careful how we treat one another. I say, skin deep, skin deep, underneath, we all look the same. Skin deep, skin deep, underneath, don't we all look the same? A man in Louisiana never called me by my name. He said, boy, do this and boy, do that, but I never once complained. I knew he had a good heart, but he just didn't understand that I needed to be treated just like any other man. Skin deep, skin deep, underneath, though we all look the same. Skin deep, skin deep,
underneath, we all look the same.
powerful.
Yeah, Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy and like
One of my heroes.
what?
Yeah, one of my heroes is Buddy Guy, so that was amazing to get to work with him.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that our 2112 co-founder Scott Fetters had something also to do with that.
Yes, he was a producer with me on the video. He came up with the original idea for Playing for Change to work with 2112 and really to kind of show a lot of diversity through the music across America, basically reminding people that the things in life that divide us, they disappear when the music plays. And let's put something together. This song was originally specifically created to bring awareness of the gun violence in Chicago. And as we were making the video, because they take a while, there was just so much gun violence across America and racial divide. And so we decided, let's make it a song across America, expand the mission a little bit. And that's when we worked with Scott Fetters in 2112 on Skin Deep Across America.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful, right? The other thing that's so beautiful about that video, and I encourage everyone to go on to YouTube and check it out, is that the musicians are all playing outside. And I have to say, Dave Herrera, one of our sponsors, has a music library called Who's the Boss? And he's in the video also.
Yeah, I love Dave. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to meet so many great Chicago musicians during that project. So thank you, Scott.
Yeah, I thank Scott too for me being here. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about, how you're doing and how you've either been in, I know, what Playing for Change does, but as an individual, how has this time really impacted you or made you consider things maybe differently, or talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's given me a chance, when you spend so much time traveling, it takes a while to process everything that you're seeing. So I think it's been an amazing opportunity for me to be home, working on music and on different songs around the world, working with our schools that have diverted into COVID emergency centers around the world, and just to really reflect on the amazing world we live in and the way that I get to see it and the way Bob sees it through the lens of music, art, and how amazing changes comes from that. So I think for me, it's an inspiring thing to look back and see that we have the tools for everything that we're facing as a society right now.
Right. Well, Bob mentioned that we all are storytellers, and your work really does, I'm sure you get to, in fact, from our conversation before, you get to hear the stories of people from other countries. I'm curious to know how in this time have you heard from maybe some of your friends from around the world, how they're being impacted by COVID, or musicians who are more inspired by seeing what's going on in the US?
Well, I mean, I think that everybody I'm talking to around the world is being impacted. And obviously the poorer places tend to be impacted the most. Mm-hmm. So they also are places that often have the greatest music and art. So, there's this reality, about how can we improve their lives, their living conditions, their healthcare. A lot of our music schools around the world, they begin as music schools, but then, they're all free and they're all run by the communities. So they become community centers and work to get clean water and solar power so you can get light to the maternity ward and really become relevant to the particular communities that we're working with. So each of them have really been inspiring us to show how they can connect with their communities and address the issues they're facing. And, this is the kind of thing where it's going to take all of us together to get through the situation that we're facing, both, with racial injustice and also with the pandemic. This is a perfect time to unite as a human race, which is something we've all been focused on for a long time. And we know that music has the power to do that.
Yes, thank you for saying that, Mark. I have to also touch base on the fact that you are a filmmaker. And so has this time sparked any inspiration for creating a new narrative of a story that you're interested in?
We're always working on new songs around the world, but at the moment we're working with the United Nations for their 75th anniversary with a focus on human rights and the rights of Afro-descendants. We oftentimes have made songs around the world where we start in the Congo and we end in Congo Square, New Orleans, and we use it as a tool to reconnect all people that were divided through slavery, reunite their music and their culture through songs around the world. So it's an interesting time to be able to focus on, you know, all of the reinventing how people see the world through the lens of music and art, and really just inspiring people to care more about each other. You know, that's why music was invented.
Yeah.
So we have the ability with music to inspire people to see the world in a new way. And I feel like that this is a great time for that, that it takes some sort of spark to create change. You know, you need context, you need something that can inspire people to see the world differently. And for me, that's what's happening all over the world now. Mm-hmm. So I think it's all the lessons we've ever learned seem like, to me, like they're to be applied now.
Yeah, you know, at the beginning of the year, people were saying, oh, it's 2020. We're going to have 2020 vision. And you kind of heard that drop off a bit. But one of the things I feel like actually is that we all kind of can see more of what's sort of behind the curtain, if you will. And that, if anything, this pandemic has shined a light on a lot of individuals who are underrepresented, or whose stories we don't often get to hear. So before we bring on our next guest, I just want to really encourage those of you who are watching to send in some questions. We've got two amazing individuals here, Bob Fergeson from Oxfam and Mark Johnson from Playing for Change. And this is your opportunity to engage with them directly. So speaking of, you know, an artist creating lyrics and expressing narrative through music, I'd love to bring on Tarrey Torae. And while she's up.
Hey, Tarrey.
Hello. Hi, Mark. Hi, Bob. Hi,
Tarrey.
Yay, great to meet you.
Good to meet you all as well.
I wanted to bring her up while I read some things about her instead of her sitting there in the background. But, you know, Chicago really has some of the most talented people. And this is one of the reasons why we exist here at CCE. But we lose so many of our talent to the coast. They go off to LA or they go off to New York. And Tarrey was bred here in Chicago, but she is Southern by heart. She has a melodic presence, which springs from the crossroads of living in a city, having that Southern personality, and is an essential woman and a2 soul. Known amateur to music, Tarrey is a 6-time Apollo winner and has appeared on 2 Grammy Award Winning albums for her work.
Speak life.
Out there. But you know what, you guys, these bios matter because the amount of work is so incredible. But yeah, she has appeared on 2 Grammy Award Winning albums for her work with Kanye West on The College Dropout and John Legend's Get Lifted. She also has worked with, oh my gosh, you guys, the list is unbelievable. Talib, Patti LaBelle, Stevie Wonder, shared the stage with Jill Scott, Mos Def, Nas, Usher, Anthony Hamilton, Faith Evans, Dave Chappelle, Lupe Fiasco, CeCe Lowe, Green. Oh gosh, the list goes on and on. She's phenomenal. She's here with us. And I am so pleased and honored to not only have her as a friend, but to have her as a guest to have this conversation with you. So Tarrey, we welcome you to the conversation. Talk to us a little bit about what motivates you in your lyrics. And then we're gonna share her recent video.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. First of all, thanks for having me here amongst you guys. This circle is beautiful. It's soulful. It's golden. So thank you all. I feel honored to be here. In regard to writing lyrics, I really don't have a process, but I know that my mission is always to gather my feelings. If I feel it, I know that there's something there. And just based on how I've lived my life, especially in terms of giving back and service, I know there are messages that have to be given. I don't know a movie. To me, I'll place it like this. life is like a movie to me, and we all have our own individual cameras following us around. And I've never seen a movie without a soundtrack. So when I write a song, I write that song to reflect what I feel in my movie. So kind of like just writing a soundtrack. And when I'm writing that soundtrack, I try to be, gracefully speaking, I try to be a little bit more vulnerable, because I am a very, I'm a very private person, but I try to share those vulnerabilities so that that courage of me doing that can speak for somebody else. And lyrically, I've been finding over the years that I've been writing a lot about the things that upset me about the world we live in, and about the things that we're experiencing. Me as a Black woman from the South Side of Chicago, my experience has been all over the place. So my songs, I write love songs, and then I write revolution songs, and then I write the what in the heck is going on songs, and then I go right back to a love song. So lyrically, my songs will represent what I feel inside, which is a lot of love and a whole lot of revolution. So that's kind of the mix of what it's been. There's nothing to, I'm a professional I'm a shower singer turned professional shower singer. So, and I like it. I like being a professional shower singer because it allows me to sing to the top of my lungs as if I'm in the middle of a stadium. And so that's pretty much it. But lyrics are important, and I know that what we feed our souls lyrically is probably one of the most important things we can do in our lives, energy-wise, because it wakes up a part of our spirits that we don't necessarily always pay attention to.
And on that note, can we show her video, please?
Oh.
I believe in truth and honesty, but you keep lying to me. I know the day will come when we'll all be free. Your destructive behavior and foolery will lead to the end of your evil deceit. I trusted you since the day I was born, so why don't I feel safe in my own damn home? Give me life, or give me death, or give me freedom. Give me life, or give me death, or give me freedom. Give me life, or give me death, or give me freedom. Give me life, or give me death, or give me freedom.
Oh, that's making some music.
Oh, beautiful.
I'll subscribe. I'll click and subscribe.
Thank you. I need some more subscribers. It's low over there.
I say we're smiling and we're laughing, but when that released, I literally just started tearing. Like, you didn't make it through the second bars or whatever it's called in music, and I was like, oh my God, I'm having an emotional reaction here. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, Tarrey? Because this is on subject. That song is on subject for what we're talking about today. And yeah, give us a little idea of what you're feeling as a musician, as a songwriter. You've already talked about your lyrics and how you create them, but tell us how you feel.
Well, I know that now's the time for everyone to decide to stand on the right side of history. And I wrote that song a long time ago, but it never became something that became a conclusive moment. Like I never found the answer to those questions in that song. Where I stand right now as a musician, as a singer, as a songwriter, and as a performer is I feel extremely deeply responsible for what we put out next and how we continue to write our soundtrack, basically. For me, it feels like the part of the school year. When you're in school, when you're a kid, you work the whole year to understand this one subject matter. And for years, you know, I'll say this, I don't think that we as a human race as a whole have gotten it. And I think the musicians and the poets and the rappers and the preachers and the opera singers, I think it's the classical players. I think it's our job to start to design the sound that we're going to have going forward and what we plant, the seeds we plant musically, because those are the things, those are the messages. I think back to the 60s and the 70s when you heard these songs that not only did they make babies, but they made people feel free. They made them feel more free. And so I think this is the time for revolution and love. And I think it's the time for freedom songs again. And I don't think it's the time, and I say this with love and grace, but I don't think it's the time to talk about money, drugs, and girls and how many of them you can get. And I think there's a responsibility that sits there for musicians. And I feel very responsible to say it as many times as possible, that it's our job to say something different now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's our time.
Gentlemen.
Well, that's amazing. And just hearing about love and revolution, you know, I mean, that's sums up, I think, the universal reality and of what's going to make the change. It's not just enough to think it. Now we have to put it in the art. People who hear it in the art, they got to adapt it to themselves. I mean, I think, you know, I heard a great interview from a musician once, and they said, you know, you think music can change the world? And they said, well, there's a responsibility because you have a microphone and the world can hear you. You know, to change the world, we need everybody, though. We need the musicians, and then we need the people listening to the music, and the farmers, the teachers, the taxi drivers, everybody. But the musicians, they have an opportunity to say something. And, you know, when I was listening to your music and watching the video, it reminded me of the Nina Simone, that great quote, right? How can you be an artist and not reflect the times? I mean, that's the ultimate reality of what we're in. So to see what you're doing and how you're reflecting the times, love and revolution, I just want to say that's amazing. And that just made my day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, to your point, Mark, I had a conversation with, this shows you how old I am. I had a conversation with Joe Strummer from The Clash, who's you know generally known as one of those guys that use music to force social movements forward. And we're just chatting about you know, the responsibilities that come when you've got a microphone. And he said, well, look at the two of us. You live in New York City. I live in London. We can actually throw open our windows and yell out and be heard by more people than most people around the world have the luxury. So anytime you've got the chance to throw open a window and yell, you take it. And if you got something important to say, you shout it. And if you don't have something good to say, find somebody who does, bring them into your house and let them shout out your window. And that's always stuck with me because it's, it is a great responsibility. We have anybody that's got some influence, that's a great responsibility. But on the other hand, last year I had a conversation with Patti Smith, punk rock poet laureate for the world, more or less. She wrote "People Have the Power," and I asked her whether it was an artist's responsibility to write activist songs and speak on behalf of movements. And I fully expected her to say, yeah, of course, that's why I do it. But instead she goes, no, it's everybody's responsibility. If you have an idea or a belief or feel strongly about something and you don't open your mouth, you're doing it wrong. And so, yes, it's an artist's responsibility. And Tarrey, that song has everything that I like in a song that is trying to change minds, right? It's beautiful poetry. It's very emotional. The song itself is a bop. I couldn't stop moving in my chair. But it's got a call to action, right? You were telling people, you're giving people permission to get up and make this change happen. And that's how I think it's done.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say something to what both of you said. And what I noticed is that saying something. When I used to live in New York for 13 years, and just recently, a couple years ago, myself and my husband, Jay Ivey, who's also a poet, we moved away, went to LA. But what I remember the most about my walks in New York was that I would see these signs on the steps going in and out of the subway that said, if you see something, say something. And it used to blow my mind because I was always the outspoken child of my parents. They would always say, she's going to say something if she feels it. So we don't have to worry about wondering what she's thinking. But but I think one of my biggest lessons has been, even with that phrase, if you see something, say something, is that silence is also very loud. And doing nothing about something or saying nothing about something is not how things get resolved. And so I appreciate what you said, that the poet laureate Patti Smith said, because everyone has to say something, and your silence is also your choice of which side of history you stand on. It's the part of us that needs to scream out sometimes. Silence can be powerful, but it can also be a weapon of destruction as well.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, that's not beautiful, but it's beautifully said. In so many of the signs during the protests, people were saying silence is violence. Right? And in so many of the conversations that I've had with individuals, they've said, well, maybe my neighbor will feel more comfortable saying something now or speaking out, or maybe the conversations at dinner tables have changed. And that's inspiring too, because what we see as a movement now, a lot of people have said that it feels different from in the 60s, right? Because there are more representations of what some people are calling allies, but what they're describing as not just Black people out there talking and marching, but white folks and Asian folks and Latino folks, like everybody, to Mark's point, like everybody has to be a part of the conversation, but then also be a part of telling new stories, whether that's film producers who are greenlighting more stories and new narratives, healthy narratives about brown and Black people, right? And considering other roles that are more positive versus negative. How does our media represent us? How does our media begin to represent that change? And so today we started with music. And it was such a passion, like wanting to bring you guys forward for over a month now, but it was worth it. It was worth bringing you to have this conversation. And, it's not going to happen overnight, but the more people and friends of ours that we engage in these conversations, artists that we know, and to your point, Tarrey, really considering, some of the artists that we know that, are booty shaking. There's a place for everything, right?
Booty sometimes, but
take it up a little.
But you need to scream at revolution sometimes. And I know I attended an HBCU, and there was a particular campaign that happened in Mississippi where they were trying to close every single historical Black college, public Black college that existed in the state, which was Alcorn State University, Jackson State University, Mississippi Valley State University, which is the last official creation of that HBCU movement. We are the baby of all of those schools, and they wanted to shut all those campuses down and turn them into prisons. And something inside of me caught on fire, and there was no NAACP chapter. So I went and flew to Baltimore and started a charter and brought that charter back to the school, and then fought with the administration. Why can't I have the NAACP? Long story short, we marched with no Instagram, and I'm telling my age, but with no Instagram, no Facebook, no MySpace, that really tells my age. But none of that was available to us. We did it all through letter writing and phone calls, and getting people we had a bus come from Seattle. We had a bus come out from New York. We had people fly in from England. We had a bus come in from Miami. But the screaming and the shouting is what woke the state up. It's what made people pay attention. And that's why those schools are still open to this day. 20,000 students. And one other point I wanted to kind of maybe just add a little more vibe to was that when the movement became more diverse, so back in the 60s when the SNCC movement came, I'm a little bit of a history nerd, y'all, so pardon me, but it did not shift the world's view of the civil rights movement even then until more diversity came in, until there were more faces and more places and more hues and more views of people. But anyway, that's what I did want to add to this conversation. And I do know that as a woman in the music industry, just to focus a little bit on what you guys were talking about earlier, the lack of inequality in certain spaces in our industry is, I think it's a guiding light for how the rest of the world sees people, how we treat women that are on TV all the time and on stages with microphones. I think it sets a tone, and I think it's a part of the leadership we have to present ourselves in. But
and that's beautiful, Tarrey, and I think it's inspiring and motivating other musicians, artists out there, women, but artists across the board to be able to start to consider these changes and how they can be impactful and demonstrate a difference, right, in the industry. I want to touch base with Bob before we have a surprise here with regards to talk to us a little bit about a future for women. And let's bring up that.
In what way specifically? You mean in the music industry or?
Well, I know Oxfam has this campaign, and I just wanted you.
Oh, okay. A future for women. Yeah. So at Oxfam, a lot of our work it is about gender, and pretty much anything we do when we build a project, we try to find a reason to raise the profile of women in relationship to that project. So if we're working in a community in a developing country, we'll find a way to make sure that women get put in charge of the project. Or, I can point to like farming projects that we've done where we send in folks who can teach technology or better ways to grow crops. And, just the simple placement of a shortwave radio in the hands of a farmer can allow them to tell the weather and understand better when the best time to plant a crop is for better production. But when we can, we'll find a woman to give that shortwave radio to, or that technology to, and that instantly makes her the captain, the leader of her area. And the men have to come to her for advice on the weather or how to grow their crops better. And it just changes the whole gender dynamic of the village or the community. So when we work with people like Angelique Kidjo, who is, if you don't know Angelique, she is known as the queen of African music. She, every year, it seems, she wins the Grammy for world music. And I say that recognizing that I think I'm the only person in this room without a Grammy. So y'all with the Grammy recognize how important that is for somebody like Angelique, who can speak to African politics and gender dynamics and how climate affects developing areas to represent our work. I once was walking down Broadway with Angelique after a giant climate march where she was going to sing at the end of the march on our behalf to people who have crossed the finish line of the march. And as we were walking, a cab driver pulled up alongside of us. And Angelique's very flamboyant. She wears beautifully colorful clothes almost all the time. And this cab driver pulled over and she just rolled down her window and she yelled out, "Angelique, my queen, keep doing what you're doing." And off he went. And wow. I asked her, I said, "How often does that happen?" And she just, all the time. But when we're lucky enough to work with people like Angelique, who are super smart, not afraid to speak their mind, have this really great and strategic knowledge of geopolitics, and really comes from a place where she knows what the situation is in these areas that we're talking about or trying to be aidful to. It's such a slam dunk for us, but I think folks like her enjoy that engagement too, because it allows her to be seen not just as a performer, but the smart woman that she is.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really wonderful. And I am a grower myself of food, and I look forward to having an outdoor garden again. I live in a high rise, but it's something to be said that I support farmers in our green markets, and for anybody who's out there, now is a good time to make sure that we are supporting the growers. And so, I could not have this conversation with you guys and not have a bit of a live performance. So it's a bit of a surprise, but we wanted to share with our viewers and share with you for taking your time and share a bit of a performance from Tarrey Torae.
Great.
This one will be a cappella because I did want to zone in on the lyrics. I did want to take the time to combine a little bit of love and revolution together. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I've been lost, I've been tired, but I'm filled with desire. Somehow I know that it's all gonna change. Everything's gonna change. Big city lights, big city dreams. It's the sound of the city that wakes me. So many people living with the blues. So many things that I can tell you. I got this funny feeling that something's going down. I can almost hear the sound going boom, boom, boom all around. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, seems like no one is happy. People living without a voice. Seems like no one really has a choice. I feel free and lost at the same time. Feels like I'm gonna lose my mind. Living every day like it's my last. Living in the truth I learned from the past. I've been lost. I've been tired. But I'm filled with desire. Somehow I know that it's all gonna change. Everything's gonna change. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, life is hard. Everybody pray. Life is a struggle. Everybody's filming, gotta play a part. Know what you're feeling, big old job, but someone's got to do it. Spite of the problem, gotta keep pursuing. Head up high, reach for the sky. Lights, camera, action. And even when you're far away, I can still see your face. And even when you're miles and miles, I see your smile and I'm very proud. And I can even hear your voice. even when there's not a noise. And I can even feel your touch. Oh, I said I miss you much. I said I miss you much. Oh, I've been lost. I've been tired. But I'm filled with desire. Somehow I know that it's all gonna change. Everything's gonna change.
Woo.
So good.
Here,
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Your neighbors are lucky.
Oh, by the way, Bob, I'm just Grammy certified. I don't have like the I have a certificate. I'm looking for it too, baby.
just take the props. You didn't have to correct me. Nobody would know.
No, not even correcting. I'm telling you, I'm joining you.
Okay.
No correction here. I was listening to you and I was like, I need one of those too.
Let's work on that.
Torae, that was amazing.
So good.
Thank you. Thank you so
Wow.
much.
Tarrey, this is not the first time I've heard you sing. I think I saw you with Slick Rick at the Brooklyn Bowl. Is that possible?
Yes. I've been with Slick Rick for almost 9 years now.
Wow.
Coming up to a decade, and been touring with him all over the world and just getting an opportunity to learn from him. He is such a golden person. His soul is just good. Ugh. Love me some Slick Rick.
We all do.
That's so wonderful. I didn't know. I felt like you felt familiar to me, but how did we meet there? Do you remember?
No, we didn't meet. I was just in the crowd with everybody else enjoying myself, like
Really?
one does at a Slick Rick show.
Oh my goodness. I know your face for some reason, but hey. I love it. I was gonna also shout out my husband, who I did mention earlier, Jay Ivy, but he just made a list of 15 songs that was printed in ABC News this past week for songs that sparked a life of revolution in song. So they picked their top 15 songs that exist today in hip hop. And he made one of the 15 songs with a song he did with Jay-Z and Kanye called Never Let Me Down. And that's that guy,
Wow.
that verse. But check that song out. If you haven't heard of that song, for all of the listeners out there and the viewers today, check that song out, check that list out. I was extremely proud of him.
Yes, we are so proud. We are also very fortunate with the CCE to have Jay Ivy as one of our CCE advisors. And he's also the Midwest chapter Grammy president. So we are very fortunate to have that kind of family that's supporting emerging entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs, I want to be clear, when I say entrepreneurs, some people are like, well, what age? Anywhere from 17 to 75, because people start businesses and they might be sparked by the bug of song or bitten by the bug of acting, or might be coming off of a sports career and decide to start a sports tech. We focus on 9 industries of the creative arts. And with that, you could be anywhere in there. Not everybody goes to college. Some people go straight into our world. In the creative industries, there aren't any real straight paths, right? We've all come to it in different ways. But the beauty is that we have found our way. And today's conversation has been so inspiring to me. And I'm so grateful to Bob Fergeson of Oxfam, how music changes the world. I just want to see that gorgeous poster before we take off. Or not. So thank you so much, Bob Fergeson. A little late there, but great. It's such a powerful message with all of the colors that are bright, they're cheerful, and it's the truth of what's going on right now, and that music can change the world. So thank you so much, Bob, for being with us, and Mark Johnson from Playing for Change. I'm not ending it just this second. I'm just saying I wanted to thank you so much for joining this conversation, and Tarrey Torae for your brilliance, your lyrics, your powerful velvet, pristine voice. Notice there was not a microphone.
I don't know how to hook that microphone up, by the way. Sorry. But I want to also say thank you, Bob and Mark and Sadia, for everything you guys are giving to the world. It's powerful to know that you guys are working and dedicating your lives to such beautiful upliftment for our community in this world. So thank you.
Yeah.
Back at you.
I have one question before we jump off. I feel like everybody was so engaged, it was hard to ask a question. Let's see. On the topic of Black liberation, what role does Playing for Change and Oxfam play in uplifting Black art and artists?
You want to go first, Mark, or shall I?
You can go first.
Sure. So I think at Oxfam we're really proud of the artists that we choose to work with, and you know, we have the luxury of being able to work with a lot of people from a lot of places, backgrounds, genres, and the folks that we enjoy most working with, and I think who are always the most eloquent about what our work really means, are Black artists, and particularly Black female artists. And you know, we pointed to Angelique and Lizzo. One of my favorite people in the universe is Mavis Staples. Shout out Chicago. And you know, when we can look to, you know, some of the old schoolers who have been through it. You know, Mavis walked the walk. Mavis walked across that bridge in Selma. Mavis and her family performed with Dr. King the night before he was assassinated. So Mavis knows what this means from her heart, and we like to take that knowledge and emotion and translate it the best we can. You know, obviously I could never understand what it would be like to be in the shoes of Mavis Staples, but she, again, we're talking about storytelling and how music is community. And if we can somehow use Mavis's words and knowledge and thoughts and ideas and hopes and translate that to our work in a way that uplifts and pays homage to her and her experience and the people who she wants to be helpful to as well. I see us as sort of humble partners in that work for equality, and in a way that allows Mavis to tell her story rather than us tell the story for her. That's not how it should be done.
Beautiful.
Wow, amazing. Right. Well, I echo a lot of those sentiments. I mean, and I think for us, you know, one time I was recording music in a Tibetan village, and there was all Tibetan CDs, and then in the middle, Bob Marley Legend. And I think that's the day I realized, you know, Bob Marley's music has transcended the entire planet. And what is everybody singing? They're singing One Love. They're singing Everything's Gonna Be All Right. They're learning about love and revolution, as Torae would say, and how they're intertwined together. So much of the most important music of my life has come out of Black artists. And I feel like what we're trying to do is humbly continue on to accentuate the message in new ways for new people, new generations of Black artists getting involved in our project and our songs around the world. Like I said, we have music schools all over the world. A lot of our schools are focused in Africa, which has just given me an opportunity to go see some of the greatest music in the world and to reinvent how I see it. And I think that's an opportunity that we can do, and a responsibility we have. You know, if you have a microphone and a camera, you can reinvent how people see the world. And so for us, I think it's about honoring all the amazing Black artists before us and doing what we can to keep that message alive.
Yeah, well, you know, it's very real. The demonstration you both, I know, have been demonstrating for years, over 20, a lot of time. And your work will be a guiding light for those who have been a little slow to the party. And so I'm really thankful for your work, for you, that you have a place here. And we are so humbled to have you join us today. I am hopeful that this first of 3 series around how the creative industries can impact or are catalyst for change really lands well. Maybe not, let's say, not everybody watches it live, but we archive on YouTube, right? And so we know that that's the majority of where people are going to watch it. And because we are an organization that is heavily education focused, I believe that this was really impactful, and that individuals at different levels, whether they're at the executive level or whether they're at the level of being the artist creator, that they will be impacted and be able to be inspired on how they put forth their music in the world, whatever creative idea they have, that they put forward in a meaningful and intentional way, and therefore demonstrate for others how to make impactful change. So thank you again. I can't say thank you enough. Thank you, Tarrey Torae, for delivering such a beautiful performance on short notice, because we wanted to surprise everybody. And so thank you for that. And it's my joy sending you into the weekend. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. And this, again, has been CCE Global Industry Talks. I'm Sadia Davis, the Director for Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And it was such a lovely time having all of these incredible, talented folks join us today. Please log on to our Facebook page or YouTube page, where you can see all of our industry talks, where they are archived. And I guess you could like us on Instagram. The point is that we want to make sure that creative entrepreneurs are finding out about us so that we can share these valuable resources with them. Enjoy your weekend and happy Friday.